All right. Hi, everybody. I am Mrs. Pucell, one of the baking teachers at Lockport, and I wanted to go through a fun, easy recipe with you and one of our types of cookies that we'll be learning about, which is Spritz cookies. Okay, Spritz cookies. This is the information that comes in the box with the cookie press. Okay, this is a Wilton brand Cookie Pro Ultra 2. And in the second part, once I make my dough, I'm actually going to show you how the cookie press works and the different stencils that can go on the bottom of it. So a few things about Spritz cookies that I'll mention, which is why they are nice to make. They are easy and fast. Okay, you're going to notice that I am putting everything in my KitchenAid mixer here. If you don't have a KitchenAid, you can use a hand mixer, or you should be able to mix by hand if you don't have anything else. Another thing is you usually have a lot of the basic ingredients at home, a lot of basic baking ingredients like flour, sugar, baking powder, vanilla, and butter. So a lot of times you might not need to go shopping or even buy a whole lot. It's fun. There's a lot of different things you can do with them. You can drizzle chocolate on the top. You can color the dough. So they're pretty fun to make and decorate. There's also a lot of different stencils that I'm going to show you in a little bit. And they also don't spread too much. So they're rather small in size. And because they don't really spread too much, you can put a lot on the baking sheet. The recipe that I'm using is actually from this information packet that comes with the cookie press. And there are a lot of other different varieties in here. I am just making the regular recipe for Spritz cookies, the classic, but there's also, you can make chocolate ones, and that recipe is very similar, except it does call for brown sugar in addition to the granulated sugar and also some cocoa powder. The recipe that I'm making, I don't know what I'm going to do with all the cookies, but it says it makes 7 to 8 dozen. So lots of cookies that we're going to have here. I'm sure my house will smell amazing, and my husband will be happy when he comes home from work to help me eat a lot of the cookies. Okay, so I'm going to get started with the dough. So in this segment here, you're going to see me make the dough. From what you've learned in baking so far, the dough should be easy to make. We are going to start by creaming butter and sugar, which you guys should definitely know what the creaming technique is by this point. Because of all the cookies it makes, I do need 3 whole sticks of butter, okay? And I sometimes buy the little half sticks, so I actually am going to put 6 of them in. They have been sitting at room temperature for a little bit, and I need to cream this with the sugar, okay? So you're going to have to give me a few minutes here to unwrap all of these. I should have done that in advance. The other thing, though, when you're creaming, you want to use the paddle attachment, which is what I have on my mixer. And I also will show you a little bit better of an angle once I get started and turn the mixer on. Okay. And then as far as the stencils go, you don't really have to make these for the holidays. There is a tree stencil, but there's a lot of other just fun shapes that don't have to be for the holidays. A lot of bakeries have Spritz cookies. I'm sure you've seen them. You just maybe didn't know the name of them. So now you will know what they are. And I did buy some sprinkles. I did have to go. I don't really have a lot of the fun decorating stuff at my house, so I was out yesterday and picked up some sprinkles to show you. Another thing that I think is kind of cool with these and most other cookies is you can make the flavor whatever you'd like. So on my table here, you can see I just have the vanilla extract, but you can always use a different extract. There is mint extract, there's almond extract, so you can use one or the other, or even sometimes more than one. If you want to mix vanilla and almond together, you could do that as well. All right, so I'm on my last butter here, and it is a little bit soft, like I said, from sitting out, which will be nice for creaming with the sugar. Okay, so I'll wipe my fingers off because they're all full of butter. Okay, and I did wash my hands before I started. I know you can't really see me either, but that's just the angle so you can see in my stand mixer. Okay, so now I got my sugar, and the sugar, I need 1 cup. Okay, so I'm going to, might do it this way because there's not a lot left in here. I have some in a container. So this is just what's left in the bag. Okay. And that should get us our cup of sugar there. So I'm going to put that in, and then I'm going to turn the mixer on to start creaming until I get that light and fluffy texture. I'm going to move some things out of the way that I'm done with. Okay. So I'll probably put maybe about half of this to start because it is a lot with all that butter. So the butter was 3 sticks. So I'm going to do a little bit to start just to get it mixed up, and then I'm going to add the rest of it. Okay. So the butter is kind of stuck in the paddle there. I'm going to add more sugar, and I'm going to leave a little bit more for the end. So it's just creaming, butter and sugar. Oops, wrong way. Can't do it backwards. Okay, so now I'm going to add whatever I have left of this 1 cup of sugar. And I'm going to cream this just until light and fluffy. One of the important things in baking is not to overmix. So just until they're creamed together. And then what I'm going to add, I'll talk about right now, and I can also post the recipe if you're interested. I am going to add 1 egg, 2 tablespoons of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then I'm going to mix that in there. And then finally, I already mixed this ahead of time because it is quite a bit. But in this bowl, I have 3.5 cups of flour and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So this I'm going to add at the end gradually because I don't want flour all over my kitchen. Okay, so those are the steps. And basically at that point, my dough will be done. And you do not want to chill the dough because if you do chill the dough and put it in the fridge, it will not really come out of the cookie press the best. Okay. It may get stuck in there depending on how long you freeze it or chill it. So you want to just use the dough right away. So I will start a second segment just to show you some of the different stencils you can put on the end. And then I'll show you actually pressing them onto the baking sheet and cooking them in the oven. So let me finish creaming and I'll add my other ingredients. Okay, it's just about there. I do have some butter and sugar stuck to the side, so I'm going to grab a rubber scraper and get it off the side and then mix it for a couple more seconds. Now we do not want to put this into the mixer if the mixer is on, okay? We always want to make sure that it's turned off, scrape it off the sides. It's also kind of stuck in the paddle a little bit, so I'm also getting that out. And then I should be just about there. I'm going to give it one more quick mix here. All right, so here we go. Get this off of there. All right, that looks good. And so now I'm going to add those next couple ingredients that I had mentioned in order that is on the recipe. So the next thing is my egg. So just 1 egg. Crack that in there. My next thing is, let's see what else. 2 tablespoons of milk. Okay. Now, for some reason, I don't know where my tablespoon is. I think it's in the dishwasher. So I'm going to use a 1/2 tablespoon, which means instead of 2, I am going to do 4 because this is a 1/2 tablespoon. Okay, so now I have that in there and I'm going to put that back in the fridge. And then finally, I need to add my vanilla. And my vanilla is 1 teaspoon. So I'm going to put that in there. Then I'm going to mix it up and then add my flour with baking powder, and I should be ready to go. Okay, so here we go. All right, so it is very moist because everything I just added were liquids. So I am going to gradually add my flour mixture. So again, it's 3.5 cups of flour and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm also going to put my milk away real quick. All right, I am going to use my 1/2 cup just to gradually add a little bit at a time so I don't make a mess. Okay, as the dry stuff gets mixed with the moist, it will not make a mess. If I just dump this whole bowl in, it will go everywhere when I turn it on. Okay, so you can see you're just going to do a little bit at a time. There's no specific amount, but you want it to be gradual. And I also didn't mention earlier, but my oven is preheating to 350. Okay, so that is what the recipe says, to preheat your oven to. So what I'm gonna do is, you guys don't have to watch me put all this flour in. So here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to end this part of the video here, and what I'm gonna do is just finish adding the flour and baking powder, and then I will get my dough ready to put in the cookie press, and then I'll start back up and show you a little bit about the cookie press and how I am going to get the cookie from the press onto the baking sheets. All right, so stay tuned for part 2.